Welcome everyone to the Weber County Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, August 12th. I'm Commissioner Sharon Bolos. I'm joined by Commissioner Jim Harvey and Commissioner Gage Frower. We will invite the audience to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and after that, our invocation will be offered by Craig Brandt. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we thank Thee for this beautiful day. We're grateful for this special day that we have to celebrate the freedoms that we have and the voice that we carry as citizens. We pray that the elections will be watched over, that those who are working to make sure that they are done fairly will be blessed, and that those who are voting will be able to vote their conscience. We thank Thee for this wonderful way that we have to live and to express our freedoms and express our voice and our choice that we have in this land. And we thank Thee for this county family. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Item D on our agenda, Commissioner comments. Commissioners, anything to share?
Well, I think it'd be remiss if we didn't recognize the Great Weber County Fair we just ended last Saturday evening. And speaking from a personal note, I think this is my 7th fair as a commissioner, and I'd have to say, probably one of the best. I think everybody had a good time. Weather was perfect on Friday and Saturday. That really helped, and again, the people out there, the staff, everybody at the Golden Spike did a fantastic job in Commissioner Harvey's portfolio, making sure that the public was well served. So, a great event.
Yep,
If you missed it,
I agree.
see you next year.
You got a year to prepare, right?
Yep.
Commissioner Harvey?
That along, I publicly just want to tell that whole group in Culture, Parks, and Recreation, the fair bleeds over into everything. It's the county celebration. Wonderful experience, and the feel this year was certainly different, better. It was it's a great family, fun, safe fair, and just they did a wonderful job. I'm just super proud of them. And then also, I want to remind folks that for the municipalities, a lot of the municipalities, little voting today, isn't that, Ricky? That's right. Today, and by 8 o'clock, voting's available here in this building and other places, but good luck with your decisions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And one other thing, Annie closed last weekend. That's also in
Oh,
Commissioner
that's
Harvey's
true.
portfolio. It was an amazing show, and my
Great
family really enjoyed that. It was one of the best I've seen over there. So they did a great job. Okay, item E on our agenda is public comments. Comments will be taken for any item that's listed on the agenda, and we ask that anyone who comes forward, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll move to item F. Consent items. Number 1, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $101,889.81. Number 2, request for approval of warrants numbers 105657 through 105718 and 492380 through 492470 in the amount of $648,992.36. For a summary of warrants and purchase orders, Mr. Ricky Hatch, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We issued 13 purchase orders this week for just over $100,000. 57% of that amount, or $58,000, was for the Health Department to purchase vaccines. 14%, or $15,000, is for the Sheriff to purchase a drone. 11%, or $11,000, is for IT to purchase software and hardware maintenance. As far as checks, we issued 153 warrants this week for a total amount of $650,000. 21% of that amount, or $139,000, is escrow release for Buffalo Run subdivision. 12%, or $76,000, is insurance for dental, disability, and vision for county employees. 11%, or $71,000, is for the roads department to pay for asphalt and some equipment maintenance. 9%, $62,000, is for the Golden Spike Event Center, and that has paid for asphalt, concrete, and a tartar gate. 8%, or $50,000, is for the health department, and that is for grant-funded repairs, as well as the Healthy Homes Program expenses and utilities. And 7%, or $44,000, is for the library to pay for utilities, building maintenance, books and materials, software, and the summer programming. The top five vendors that we paid this week are Staker and Parson Companies at $105,000, Single Tree Acres for $100,000, Metropolitan Life Insurance Company $55,000, Michael Moyal $34,000, and Baker Tilly Advisory Group $30,000.
Any questions?
None for me.
No.
Okay, thank you. Item 4, request for approval of the minutes for the meeting held on June 24th, 2025. Number 5, request for approval of ACH payment to Zions Bank in the amount of $309,713.39. Number 6, request for approval of a purchase agreement by and between Weber County and JM North LLC, Series 2, for an easement to facilitate project improvements along the road to Causey. Number 7, request for approval of a purchase agreement by and between Weber County and Feeney Family LC for an easement to facilitate project improvements along the road to Causey Reservoir. Commissioners, if there are no comments or questions, I'm ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve those consent items as presented today, F1 and 1 through including 7.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item G, action items. Number 1, request for approval of Resolution 34-2025 of the County Commissioners of Weber County appointing a trustee to the board of the Ogden Valley Recreation Transmission Special Service District, Ms. Stacy Skeen.
Good morning. I received notice from the Ogden Valley TV District that one of their members had moved out of state, so it created a midterm vacancy. And I posted for the vacancy and received one application prior to the deadline. He is, you have the application before you, and he is qualified to serve. So I'm just asking for your approval to appoint him to fill the remainder position till December of 2026.
Madam Chair,
Please.
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 34-2025 appointing Bart Brager to the Ogden Valley Recreation Transmission Special Service District Board.
And I'll second that with a comment.
Please.
And if you'll notice, Commissioners, there's 4 people currently on this board. It's been a fairly difficult one over the years to fill. But we may want to address sometime in the near future moving this board to a 5-member board. Just, again, 4 members sometimes could be problematic because of votes taken. So just a suggestion, we look at that, but I'll second that motion.
And did you name the resolution? The motion? I can't remember.
I
Okay.
did.
All right. I have a motion and a second.
Roll call vote for Resolution 34-2025. Commissioner Frohr,
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey,
Aye.
Chair Bolos.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Number 2, request for approval of a first reading of an ordinance of the County Commissioners of Weber County to change the name of a private road within unincorporated areas of Weber County. Mr. Steve Collier, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate your time. Let me get the agenda out of the way here. So this is, again, the first reading for simply changing the name of a private lane. The change would be from Babyliss Lane to Spring Creek Lane, and keeping the same coordinate value in that name. That's 6125 South. And that's just as has been requested by those that access from that lane.
Any questions?
Is that unanimous by those who live on that said lane?
That is what I'm told. I've asked for a letter for the second reading for us to be able to present that if requested. And there's the nod that yes, that is unanimous.
Well, I know where that
So there are
nod came
3
from.
lots on there, I think 2 different owners.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve that first reading as presented by Mr. Collier this morning.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 3, request for approval of Resolution 35-2025 of the County Commissioners of Weber County approving a second amendment to the governing document of Promontory Commerce Center Public Infrastructure Districts, numbers 1, 2, and 3 to amend the annexation area of the districts and related matters. Ms. Stephanie Russell, welcome.
Commissioners, thank you for entertaining this resolution. Promontory PAD Board of Trustees met on the 22nd of July of this year, and they adopted a resolution 2025-1. This is a second amendment to the governing document of this particular public infrastructure district that was created by the county in June of 2023. This amendment is addressing the annexation area. This is properties that are east of the existing PID. This is the first step in this process. The second process would be to submit a petition that would ratify those annexed properties, verifying that all of the property owners have agreed to participate in the public infrastructure district. Public infrastructure districts require 100% participation of property owners in order for them to be a part of that district. So we're just asking for the commission to pass this resolution, which would allow Promontory Commerce Center PID to move on to the next step, which is the petition.
Any questions?
No questions. I'm happy to make a motion when you're ready.
Please.
So I'd move approval of Resolution 35-2025 as presented by Ms. Stephanie Russell this morning.
Second?
I have a motion and a second.
Roll call vote for Resolution 35-2025. Commissioner Faur?
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Chair Bolos?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Number 4, a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and TGE Inc., DBA Gardner Engineering, for the 2550 South roadway design project. Ashley Toman, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Before you is a contract between Weber County and Gardner Engineering, or TGE Inc., to help us finish the design of 2550 South, to widen that road and prepare the construction documents. This includes Phase 1, which would be 3500 West to 4300 West. And then in the contract, we also added a preliminary design for Phase 2, which would be 4300 West to 4700 West. Kind of prepping that. We don't have all the construction money yet for Phase 2, but to try and have that ready in case we have developments that come in that need to do improvements along there. We would know what elevations to put that in. This is a project that's funded through WACOG funds, through sales tax, and also through impact fees to help with our local match. That will help pay for the design and then also the construction. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
None for me.
I'm ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve that contract between Weber County and TGE Inc. as presented by Mr. Tolman this morning.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 5, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Skills Unlimited, Inc. for installation of general waste MBI outbound ramp at the Weber County Transfer Station. Bill Ross.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
This is just, many of you know, out of the transfer station at the south end of our tipping floor is where we load all of our MBI trucks, double-pulled trailers that haul our municipal waste away. On that huge scale, on the outbound side of that, it was originally constructed out of wood material, and over the years it's just deteriorated and it's starting to fail. So we need to replace that, and so this is a contract with Scales Unlimited to do that work and make it safe and back in good working order. So, any questions?
No, that's it. Boy, I'll tell you, the process by which we operate out there has really elevated, and it's been phenomenal. You and your team have done a great job. And people who had and rightfully so. I mean, I've been out there and waited in the past as well. For a long time, it can be tough. We can't do anything about the train, but we've done everything else about the inside of that place. And boy, Commissioner Faur, I know this is in your portfolio. Great job out there, you guys.
Got a good team out there. Happy to make a motion whenever
Please.
you're ready.
Ready.
So, Madam Chair, I'd move approval of the contract by and between Weber County and Skills Unlimited, Inc. for the installation of the general waste MBI outbound ramp at the Weber County Transfer Station as presented this morning by Mr. Bill Ross. And just to second that, Sean, Bill, and that whole group out there, John Watson, have done a great job making sure that we continue to offer the best transfer station in northern Utah.
That's the motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Number 6, request for approval of contract by and between Weber County and Grant Morrison for indigent defense in specialty cases. Mr. Jim Retallick, welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is regarding, I didn't call you Your Honor yet today, so. This is to approve the contract. At present, Bill Morrison works a contract as a specialty attorney. Specialty attorneys, we have 2 of them, and they handle the most serious cases that we find, all homicide cases, all first-degree sex offense cases. And they had been operating under the same contract since, I think, 2018. And so this simply increases the hourly from $125 an hour to $140 an hour. There's still the cap on the total amount that we allow from the contracts that we receive from IDC, the funds we've received, which we'll address here in just a second. But this was a long time overdue.
Any questions?
None for me.
Ready for a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd move to approve the contract by and between Weber County and Grant Morrison for the IDG indigent defense specialty cases as presented by Mr. Jim Retallick this morning.
Madam Chair, instead of a second, I'd like to hold, if we could, I'd like to hear the last item he's got with the state before we go ahead on this one, just a matter
Actually,
of-
it'd be the next item. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So,
Could we just hold this for just a minute? Because I think that I'd like to hear it may answer my question that I have on this. That's up to
Okay,
you.
yeah. Okay, go ahead and present number 7.
all right, thank you. This is the grant contract between Weber County and the Indigent Defense Commission for the state of Utah. The IDC contract is the same amount as it was previously last year, just under $1 million. In connection with that last contract for Grant Morrison, we receive $70,000 for each one of our specialty attorneys, so for a total of $140,000. Once again, those specialty contracts take a load off the line attorneys of handling the most serious types of the cases. And so we're just under, I think, just a few $1,000s, under $1 million that we're receiving from the state of Utah, which makes the operation of our office possible.
Commissioner Harvey, you okay to go back to number 6 now for the second?
Yeah, that'd be fine, thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, after hearing item number 7, my concern is, and Mr. Retallick, you do a great job. This is no reflection on you. And I hope Mr. Barraza down at the state, they hear that the gap is still widening.
Mm-hmm.
This debt or this extra pay for any of them, and not that they're not qualified, is going to fall on the property tax of the taxpayers of Weber County. This gap cannot continue to widen. This is, to me, as we rightfully so should pay a little more to our guys. It's just that the burden is on the taxpayer of Weber County. We have to see more out of the state. We have to see more. It's not a may, it's a shall. We have to have them pay more, or we may have to make some drastic decisions come budget time. So as it relates, going back to that item, I know that you wouldn't present it if it shouldn't be so, but I'll second that, but with a heavy concern that the gap continues to widen, and that could cause other problems coming down the road.
Well, and I might add that the IDC fights mightily for every dime that they receive from the state of Utah, so that they can provide these grants. Last year, they took about a $700,000 hit, yet they saw fit to dive into emergency funds that they had to continue to fund everything and all the programs that they have funded here in Weber County.
And while I respect that, they've just got to maybe quit throwing ninja stars and pull out the nunchucks. I don't know, they may have to use a different tool, but we've got, it doesn't that's fine, and Dan, I understand that, but all of us, especially involved in that, should be talking to our legislators. They can't cut that funding. We have to continue to fund those positions and not widen the gap of funding which falls on the taxpayer. So I hear what you're saying. I understand that. I think that's what they should have done, but that's my concern.
Well, and constitutionally, the the responsibility falls on the state, as does the burden under the Gideon versus Wainwright decision from 1963, said that it is a state requirement. And all the states basically did was make it an unfunded mandate to the counties, and so I agree with you. But I think the fact that we're getting almost $1 million from the state for this, while not sufficient, not to cover everything that we need to cover, I think we're on the right track.
Thank you. Okay, so I have a motion and a second on the contract between Weber County and Grant Morrison. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And then item 7, which was presented, is approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the State of Utah Indigent Defense Commission to operate indigent defense for Weber County District and juvenile courts and the Regional Forensic Social Work Office within the Public Defense Office. Ready for a
I'll make a
motion?
motion, we approve that contract as presented by Mr. Vitalik.
And I'll second that with a comment. And Commissioner Harvey is spot on in terms of the relationship we have with the state of Utah. I actually, one of my previous duties, I actually funded the Indigent Defense Commission in one of the committees I ran. And quite frankly, it's not the best, it never has been the best funded commission in the state of Utah. We need to change that. I think we've proven, I think Mr. Retalik's proven over the last few years that the public defenders has done a great benefit, not only for Weber County, but for the state of Utah with the Veterans Court and what he's been able to accomplish for our citizens is well proven. But at the same time, we need to put pressure, and you're exactly right. The pressure has to come from our local legislators that we need more funding through appropriations to make this affordable for the county. Let me just put it that way. And so I don't disagree with the word you said, I think, but again, I don't want Mr. Ritalik or his office to feel this is a criticism of his, because I think
None.
it's been proven throughout the state, we are recognized as a leader in public defense. And again, I think the public needs to understand, if we didn't do this, we would be very, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ritalik, is that then we'd go back to our contract form of public defenders, and at times, especially when we have capital cases, the costs can come very close to what we're spending now. So, I mean, we just have to look at the dollars and cents. But the bottom line is, we need more money from the state. So, I'm not going to disagree with that for a minute.
I agree. Okay, I have a motion and a second on this contract. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And number 8, request for approval of a memorandum of agreement by and between Weber County and the State of Utah Indigent Defense Commission to provide Title IV-E federal funding for allowable administrative costs for attorneys to provide legal representation to parents of children who are candidates for Title IV-E foster care or Title IV-E eligible foster care.
Thank you. This is a great benefit to the citizenry of Weber County. Title IV-E provides federal funding, and so we have our, and actually they're operating on separate contracts. We have some of our juvenile attorneys who have a great deal of experience in this, can go ahead and contract and bill on these types of cases, and Weber County receives reimbursement of those funds that Weber County pays out for those representations. Great benefit to the citizens, great benefit to the children that the program serves.
Any questions?
None for me.
Ready for a motion?
Madam Chair, move to approve the memorandum of agreement by and between Weber County and the State of Utah Indigent Defense Commission to provide the Title IV-E, Title IV federal funding for allowable administrative costs for attorneys to provide legal representation for parents of children who are candidates for Title IV-E foster care or Title IV-E eligible foster care, as presented by Mr. Vitale this morning.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioners.
Item H on our agenda, public hearings. Number 1, request for motion to adjourn a public meeting and convene public hearings.
So move?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're now in a public hearing for item 2, regarding a proposed ordinance and development agreement. The ordinance will create a new zone district called the Traditional Neighborhood, or TN Zone, and will rezone approximately 550 acres of property located within the area bounded by 12th Street, 4700 West, and the Weaver River. The associated development agreement is related to a request for approval of the Bennett Development, formerly Gibson Farms, a master plan development comprising the same 550 acres. The TN zone will allow a variety of uses with the master plan development, guided by a concept plan and design standards including single-family, residential, and mixed neighborhood commercial. Mr. Charlie Ewert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that description gave my presentation, so
All righty,
I'll
I'm
take
ready
any
for, no, I'm
questions.
just kidding.
No, thank you very much. I've got a slideshow I can make as long or as quick as you guys want. Just want to go over the higher arching points of this. This is one of the bigger projects we've been working on. You guys know that we discussed another big one in last week's meeting. This one's kind of following closely on the hills. This is about 550-acre piece of property. The applicant is asking for a new zone that they have proposed. They are calling it the Traditional Neighborhood, the TN Zone. And as part of that, they're asking for essentially 3 things: the creation of that zone, so the final adoption of the zone, and then rezoning 550 acres to that zone, and then approving a development agreement. Let's see if I can get that into... I won't mess with it too much. The traditional neighborhood zone, as it's proposed, is a type of form-based zone. It's a form-based zone that is unique to each development type. In order to have a property rezoned to this particular form-based zone, the way that it's written suggests that the property would need to be at least 400 acres, be a master planned community, and come with a development agreement. So prior to ever rezoning property to the TN zone, we should see a development agreement that you guys are comfortable with and are willing to approve. What this will do, it's basically creation of the TN zone it's more like an enabling zone. Once you have a property that you want to zone to the TN zone, it will have its own unique name. So this property, the 550 acres, will be termed the TN-Bennett zone, is what the proposal is. If you have another 400-acre property that comes in to be master plan, wants to go in the TN zone, it would be TN-whatever they are calling their development. This type of zone, the form-based zone, it has subzones called transects. In our existing form-based code that we already have in adoption, we call these, instead of transects, we call them street types. But essentially they're the same thing. Basically looking at how to create the form of the community based off of a transect type. It focuses on the difference between the public realm and the private realm. Public realm is the thing that needs to be, that needs to look good for the community, that it really defines community, it builds community. And then the private realm, that's inside buildings, backyards, et cetera, and that's the sort of thing that there's much less governing or much less regulation on. Transects, you can kind of see here the split between one side, which is just natural, and the other side, which is, what do we call that, town center or special district as well. So you can just see how the intensity of development ramps up based on transects. So that's the TN zone. This is the subject property to potentially be rezoned to the TN zone. Current zone map is on the left-hand side. The proposed zone map is on the right-hand side there, calling it the TN Bennett zone. So right now on the left-hand side, you've got the A2 zone, the A1 zone, and just a little bit of the R115 and the R3 zone this project right here, which was approved last year as Windmill West.
Say that again, Charlie, one more time. Oh, sorry, Madam Chair, thank you.
Which part? All of it?
What you just did was circle that piece, because that's,
So that piece right there is the Windmill West development. There is a development agreement on it right now that governs how it's supposed to be built with the R3 zone up next to 4700 West and the R115 zone back in the back. I don't know if you recall this one from probably a year and a half ago or so. The applicant has acquired that property, and they're proposing to do away with that development agreement in those zones and put it all into the TN zone with their development agreement. Just a bigger image of that. Just give you a little recap on what we've seen so far. The process that has led into this has generated, let me do a quick count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 different public meetings. These meetings were mostly in the form of a work session with the Planning Commission, but there was also a public hearing with the Planning Commission. This public hearing today with you guys, as well as several work sessions with you guys. In fact, I think there's 2 or 3 more meetings that we met specifically with you guys to discuss some of these items as well that is not showing on this calendar here. So quite a bit of public discourse that has gone on in the creation of this over the last year. When you're looking at rezone considerations, the code suggests you look at the following 6 items: consistency with the general plan, compatibility with existing development, impact on adjacent properties, adequacy of facilities and services, environmental considerations, and traffic mitigation. And I'm not going to go into what's the word? Big detail on each of those items. I'll just kind of run you through each of them quickly. Most important one, I think, is the general plan consistency. We know the general plan talks about medium to large residential lots. It talks about mixed-use residential and missing middle housing, and master plan communities. When it comes to master plan communities, the general plan favors that because it stimulates cohesion and integration of development facilities and services. It provides an economy of scale, and it better facilitates the creation of communities that are designed for all stages of life. The image on the left-hand side, that is the general plan. That general plan is not formally in effect, but it has been adopted and approved by you guys, contingent on it going into effect if this rezone is granted. So on the left-hand side is that future land use map as it applies to the property, and on the right-hand side is the development plan. Those are the transect districts, and you can see from the lighter shading to the darker shading of pink or purple or whatever color that is. That's where you've got the lighter shading is lighter intensity uses, so the lighter transects, and the darker shading is the heavier, more robust transects. And then that yellow is a special district intended for the future of agritourism use, which the agritourism use that's currently on the property, I think, will probably continue on for some time. This image depicts a concept map of what the project could look like. We say could look like because there's a lot of flexibility and movement and of these roads and the use types, as long as whatever that is falls back to whatever this transect district map shows, generally speaking. But we do know, looking at the next slide here, we do know that the general plan calls for certain street rights of way that are bigger than just this community, more important than just this community, important to the overall community. East-west connections across the river, north-south connections to the south side of the railroad tracks, as well as east-west on the northern side. Kind of hard to see right here, but where are we? There we go, 700 north. We want to make sure that we get some good connections there, and the applicant has proposed all of those. Applicant is also proposing improvements along the Weber River. So this is the emerald necklace that's in the general plan. It talks about using the Weber River as the creation of that necklace, and the emeralds are the parks that will be located along that necklace there. With that in mind, you guys have a lot more details than what I've just given you. You've got basically three options, or some combination of the three options on these three items. In your packet, you've got an ordinance. The ordinance will both, if you were to approve it, it will adopt the TN zone, and it will apply the TN zone to this property, subject property that we're talking about. It'll also authorize the chair to sign the development agreement that's included in the packet. There is one item in the development agreement that we're not quite done on, and it's just an administrative thing, where the development agreement and the zone is intended to govern design better than what our current zones do. The applicant has requested that some of our design standards that are already adopted in our codes be loosened or relieved a little bit, because they're gonna have to have a whole town architect and a whole process to verify compatibility with the design, and there's a whole governing structure on how the county can control that process. And so they're asking for a little bit of relief on design standards that are in our existing code. We're going back and forth a little bit on that, because there are some things that we know we definitely want to see governed, that I think they would like us to exempt them from. But between our attorneys and myself and them, I think we can have that worked out pretty easily before the agreement is signed. So I don't see that as anything more than just administrative cleanup before recordation. Any questions for me on any of that?
Commissioners, you want to hold your questions till after the public hearing, or
Happy, whatever you'd like, Madam Chair.
let's go to public comment? Don't
Madam
go
Chair,
far.
I know the
Oh,
applicant wanted to address you guys as well whenever you're ready for that.
Okay, let's go to public comment first. If there's anyone in the public who would like to come forward and speak to this issue, let's have them come forward now. I know that we've opened up emails as a means of public comment for these public hearings, and I haven't received any. Commissioners, I don't know if you've received any you want to address.
Haven't.
Okay, seeing none,
I just want to recognize the Planning Commission Chair, Mr. Andrew Favero, in the audience. Thank you for being here. Not that you haven't donated enough time, but appreciate you coming in the middle of the day to hear this. Thank you, sir.
I'm a wage, a truck, and an expensive job for being an employee.
okay, well, let's entertain a motion to leave the public hearing and reconvene our public meeting.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're now back in a public meeting. I know the developers here, commissioners, I don't know if you want to hear from them, and we'll go with the questions later.
I'm happy to
Okay,
hear
let's
from
do
them
that.
if they'd like.
Hello, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning.
You're going to get a fresh face today. So, first off, we wanted to thank you for the opportunity to be in front of you today. And Charlie hit on most of the timeline and process, but I'm welcome to answer any questions you have on community engagement or anything related to that. But I felt like today maybe it was more important to give you an overview of what we're asking and trying to create on this property. So I'll go into that, but you're welcome to ask any questions at any time. So the overview of today, I wanted to hit on the key components of everything. So today we're here to create something more than just your average subdivision. We have a chance to create a neighborhood that serves families that are just starting out, parents in the middle of life, and seniors who want to stay connected to the place that they love here. It is about creating a community that will be just as vibrant in 50 years as it is with the day it's built. We want to create a complete neighborhood, one that follows these principles. Staying connected, that streets and paths encourage walking, biking, and daily interaction. One that is balanced, a mixed type of housing, shops, services, and green space. One that is self-sustaining, where your daily needs are met within close proximity to home. One that is safe and inviting, designed for beauty, comfort, and a sense of pride. This is a place for all ages and stages. Young families that want to enjoy safe and walkable streets. Professionals that value proximity to the amenities. And empty nesters and retirees that can stay active and connected to the community. A key component of our project is senior-friendly housing. From the market study that we did overall this whole project, We anticipate a large portion of our buyers will be empty nesters and retirees of all products, not just single-family. This allows them to have accessible single-level housing, spaces designed for aging in place, goods and services within a pleasant walking distance, parks and trails, and gathering spots that reduce isolation as they age. This project, at its core, values home ownership. A fundamental goal of our traditional neighborhood development is built around home ownership. We plan for balance, not just rentals. While some rentals are important to the inclusivity of this neighborhood, it is important to have a strong base of home ownership that creates the stability and investment that a neighborhood thrives off of. This also creates long-term stewardship in this project. Homeowners take care of their properties, they strengthen neighborhood character, and they engage in the neighborhood and civic life. If you were to ask why a traditional neighborhood development works, I would tell you this. It is proven to create vibrant, resilient communities. It encourages social connection and healthy lifestyles. It increases property values and long-term tax revenue, and it uses land and infrastructure more efficiently. Today, we have the opportunity to set the standard for thoughtful growth in Weber County. It is not just building homes, it is building community. It is a place where kids grow up, parents build their futures, and seniors remain part of the neighborhood that they love. It is how we preserve the best of Weber County while still preparing for the future. That is the overview of the whole project. I'm happy to answer any detailed questions, though, but that gives you the basis of what we're trying to accomplish.
Any questions at this point?
One question. So can you tell me the density? How many residential units?
In the development agreement, it's 6 units per acre.
Okay.
That is what's written in there.
Got it. Okay. That's it for right now. May have later.
Commissioner Harvey?
I appreciate you, your presentation. I appreciate that, you know, I have a fairly big concern about senior living, and you covered that, but I also, having seen some similar projects out in Norton Commons, I like what they do with schools and YMCA's, and they made places for public things like little water parks and fire stations and churches. And I was impressed with the model that was there. That was very good. It covers one of the things I asked for. And Mr. Ewert, I want to make sure that we get a little extra frontage off of 4700. I'm not as concerned about 12th Street. Can you address that? Can you address that, please?
Talking about green space on 4700?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the applicant has put something in the development agreement about an extra buffer, green space buffer along 4700 for all parts of 4700 that isn't intended to have commercial buildings directly fronted, which is most of the project.
Be most of that project. What about bridges spanning over in or around the Emerald Necklace around in there? What will be the developer's responsibility with that?
Great question. The Planning Commission specifically asked you guys to make sure that we get in at least 2 pedestrian bridges in addition to the 2 vehicle bridges that we're planning over time.
Say that again.
So we'll have 2 vehicle bridges, one at 700 North and one at 400 South, and then 2 pedestrian bridges in between those to make sure that there's plenty of cross traffic ability over that riverway. So that's in the proposal.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else?
Oh, unless you guys have anything else for me.
What about the river, along the river, the minimums, maximums, part of that, again, that Emerald Necklace?
Yeah, so the county code currently says no, a setback, nothing shall be close, sorry, my brain's misfiring right now. Nothing shall be close, place closer, thank you, to the river than 300 feet. In the development agreement, we do have an exception to that, and that can go down to 100 feet. But there's a clause that says anything within that 100 to 300 feet needs to be studied by an expert, and the development agreement names that expert. So the county's agreeing. We ran that through the engineering office, and they said they're great with that. And so the county and the developer are agreeing on who that expert is, at least on the front end. It can change later with consent of all. But within that 200-foot buffer, there is a requirement for certain scientific measures to be met.
We know, Madam Chair, we know that there are places, because of Mr. Wilkinson on our staff and some of the others, we know that there can be problematic places along that river. If a concession is made, to be able to reduce down to 100, I would like to make sure that there is access. The roadway access from 4700 or 12th Street, and I know there will already be a road, 4700 or 12th Street, so that they can get in with a long reach even, or whatever equipment's necessary to be able to access that part of the river without having to drive all the way from 12th all the way back along there to be able to get to where we need to and destroy the whole. See what I'm saying? Because those pieces of equipment are heavy.
Yep.
So I hadn't thought about that till today, but listen, that's super critical.
Yep, it's in the development agreement.
That's about maintaining for the future.
Yep,
And
agreed.
so that may not affect this development, but I don't want to negatively impact other developments that may exist on the other side of the river. And I can think of one, especially right now. We've got to be able to access that still.
Yep, makes perfect sense. Planning Commission had the same concern. We made sure we got that in the development agreement.
That's great. What was the Planning Commission's response to this, Mr. Ewart?
It was unanimous consent, or unanimous recommendation for approval.
Okay. Madam Chair, that completes my questions.
Okay, I have a few more that haven't been covered. Charlie, we talked about this a little earlier today, but just for the sake of the other commissioners, so they can hear the response to my question, will you explain the difference between today's agenda item and last week's agenda item, to the point that we are talking about creating city centers well ahead of the development, which I think is a really smart idea. And so it seems as though we're creating two different city centers with these two proposed developments.
Yeah, happy to answer that. In fact, after you and I discussed, I recalled something that we're working on with Wasatch Front Regional Council. So the Wasatch Front Regional Council is, as part of the regional transportation plan, wanting to work with each community on identifying where their economic nodes or their commercial nodes are. And they're categorizing those nodes into things like urban centers, city centers, neighborhood, commercial, employment centers. And they're kind of stratifying it based off of intensity of uses. Like downtown Ogden would be an urban center, whereas some of the periphery of downtown Ogden would be more community center. If you look at some of the pockets in the neighborhoods where you've got intersections with commercial uses right on the corners of those intersections, those might be neighborhood supportive uses. If you look at it through that lens, we reported the possibility, again, it's not final, but the possibility of last week's project having a pretty decent urban center. So something that may not have skyscrapers or bigger, taller buildings like we see here in downtown Ogden, but something that has a number of 25th streets. So it's an urban core that serves that community out there, especially with the amount of density that they are proposing out there. This project is not proposing as much density, and they are looking at doing neighborhood centers, not commercial or urban centers. So does that answer that question, or would you like me to go into detail a little more on that?
Nope, that's great. Because we had nobody speak in today's public hearing, will you just briefly review the comments that were made in opposition to this
At the public hearing?
at the public hearing?
I'm gonna have to ask the
Just-
chair. I don't recall.
I just want to hear the general, I mean, I've heard them. I guess I want the public to hear the general comments that were made against this.
I remember there were 3 specific ones. One primary concern was that we shouldn't be calling this a traditional neighborhood zone because traditional neighborhoods are straight streets on a grid pattern. I don't know that my profession would totally agree with that. We do have the beautiful Plat of Zion that has shaped most of the communities here on the Wasatch Front as well as others across the Intermountain West. That does have straight streets with blocks that are 660 feet apart. But there are other projects, around the world, frankly, that has great street connectivity with great street blocks that are a little bit more neighborhood traditional. The straight streets you'll find over time really helped vehicle connectivity. Some of the lesser straight streets, curvilinear streets, they help actually promote pedestrian connectivity and pedestrianism, giving people better and faster connections by foot than necessarily by car. And so it actually helps what is truly a traditional neighborhood, which is, if you go pre-vehicle, you can see some of these older cities, Boston or New York or whatever, that don't necessarily have the perfect grid pattern. So that's kind of the traditional style that we're looking at. When I say Boston, New York, I don't mean the urban density of that, just the way that those streets were shaped and laid out organically from the beginning.
Any other concerns other than the definition of a traditional neighborhood?
Yeah, and I think that's primarily regarding straight versus curvilinear, yeah. So some folks would rather not see the curves in the road. Curves can cause some challenges, especially when it's related to speed. But also, same comment, curvilinear versus straight grid pattern. You had that. You had a little bit of concern about the western side of the river and some of these roads, where they're going to go. Right now, the development agreement doesn't specify when some of those vehicle bridges need to be built or should be built, or how they're going to be built. We do specify how the pedestrian bridges will be built, but not the vehicle bridges, mostly because we don't have control over the other side of the river, and because the majority of the traffic load coming to and from this project is going to be coming from the east, not the west. So as the west side of the river builds out, we'll be looking at finding ways to build and fund those bridges. But one landowner said, I'd really rather not have a road going through our family's property. I actually had some conversations with other members of the family subsequent to that. And we're exploring opportunities for maybe a open space area or a nature park area or something like that for their property, where we would still have good street connections, but preserve most of their property the way that they would like to keep it. They're not interested in necessarily developing that property. They would rather keep it open. But I think that was the gist of it. A little bit of safety concerns along the river, just making sure that we do actually do some engineering along that riverway to make sure that it stays where it is and doesn't flood things out. Applicant actually said it best, as the long-term master plan developer over this master plan development, they definitely want to make sure that they're not creating problems for themselves in the future. So I think the market will help govern a lot of that, but I know Gary's going to have some eyes on with a lot of that as well.
Okay, next, I'm going to combine a couple of my questions here. I don't want to go forever, but when this change was made to the general plan I think it was last fall?
Yeah, December,
Oh,
actually.
yeah, okay, 9-ish months ago. The reason why I voted against that was because I wanted to make sure that the Planning Commission took whatever this proposed project was and tried to envision it in other places in western Weber County. I like the name of the new zone, traditional neighborhood, and I think it's flexible enough to be applied to large tracts of land, like 550 acres, but also to smaller ones,
Yeah.
100 acres. So I really like that. Can you give me an update on the conversations of the planning commission on where else this might, I don't need to know where else it would be applied, but
How
I
it
would
could
really,
be.
I would really like to see it applied to the general plan in other places.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So as we looked at crafting and shaping the TN zone specifically, we wanted to make sure it wasn't just useful for this one property. As great as this project seems to be, the administration of land use laws can get really complicated if we have super unique things all over the place. And so looking at the idea of making something consistent across the board, I think is important. Right now, where the TN zone says that in order to qualify for TN zone, you have to have a certain amount of acreage, 400 acres, that could be changed at any time. The Planning Commission and staff talked a lot about how this is just the beginning of the TN zone. And if we do traditional neighborhood correctly, it could be the way that we go with most of our projects going into the future. Something a little bit more, it'll be less development agreement heavy and more, we'd have to put a little bit more substance in the zone itself, but we set it up in a way where we could expand it for the use on other properties to provide a little bit more uniformity and consistency.
I prefer that over creating a new zone for every development that comes in, if you can't tell.
Yeah, agreed.
Consistency is, I think, what it's about when we change the general plan, so that not only the property owners and developers, but the neighboring property owners understand what can happen. And as this development unfolds, I think it will be a good visual for other people in Western Weber County to see what might happen next door to them. I think it's an amazing project, and I love the integration. I think that's so important, and it seems like in my lifetime, that hasn't been done very well in most places. There's usually this side of the tracks and that side of the tracks, or this side of, whatever the divider is. I just love the integration of this project, and I think it's really important in development. So I would love to see that zone applied in other places. And also, with the extension of Legacy up into Weber County, I think it's really important to recognize that that these new developments are going to be located next to major transportation corridor. And while I still think there is plenty of need for large lots and large homes and neighborhoods like we see out west now, I think there's still a need for that. With that large corridor coming through there needs to be planning for those people who have fewer cars per household, and those people who want to live in spaces that are more conducive to that kind of transportation. So I really like the placement of this. I think that's it. Did I bring up any other?
My big thing is that when this came before us last fall, I remember that there were concerns. It didn't exactly go with our general plan. We asked you to go out to the people, especially along 12th West. You've done that. You've stated all those times. You've been able to reach out to public. I appreciate that. You've done a good job. I want to, Mr. Grover, thank you for your work on this. I think the only thing we don't know is what we don't know. But this represents a big change for us. Nothing like this we've done. But I've done a lot of research, and I'm about there. So that's my comments there.
Anything else to add?
Yes, if I could, Madam Chair.
Please.
So I agree with Chair Bolos on, to create a zone for one property seems a little unusual to me from a planning standpoint. So I've got a couple questions. Where did the 400 acres come from? If somebody came in with 150 or 200 acres, Are we setting ourselves up for potential conflicts by dictating why not 1,000 acres? I mean, so tell me where the 400 acres come from, and then I also want some input on, you mentioned the design has not, and I've reviewed the development agreement. You said the design has not been agreed to 100% in the development. Is that correct or not correct?
Sort of. Let me answer both of those questions.
Yeah.
Did you have any other ones you wanted to ask as well?
Well, I'm going to ask you a question at the end here, but it doesn't really apply to this directly, but I want to put it on public record just since you're here, Charlie.
Okay, perfect. So the 400 acres is just a line in the sand. It could be whatever number you want it to be. We were trying to figure out, when we drew that line, we were trying to figure out where it belongs in terms of size, what size of property is needed to create a good, cohesive master plan development. If and when the future comes, when somebody with 100 acres wants to use this zone and do something similar, I do think we'll want to hopefully have already gotten into the zone and refined it so that there is a lot more consistency. Great thing about this project is it's kind of fleshing out some of the challenges.
Some of our weaknesses.
Some of our own weaknesses, yep. It's given us a great direction on how to address those smaller developments in time. And I've got a booklet that this development agreement is actually based on. It's based on a model form-based zone ordinance called, what's it called? Smart Code, yep. Smart Code, version 9. And that's created by some people who are much smarter than I am, some famous planners and architects that have done work across the globe, and it speaks directly to, as a uniform ordinance, speaks directly to any kind of development of this type on any size of property. So we have a lot of opportunity in front of us, I think, to refine both our form-based zone as well as the TN zone as a form-based zone with the Planning Commission to make it useful for smaller projects. We just said 400 for now because this property was bigger than that, and we wanted to maybe try and head off some of the smaller properties from coming in thinking that they could just be
Okay,
shooting.
I think I know where it came from, out of the air. Okay.
Yep.
Answer my next question on design.
Yeah, so in the development agreement, there is a specific section. It's section 8.17.3. That section talks about exemptions from the county's code, the county's design code. Because the applicant has provided such a thorough design, because theirs is complete, it's their design code, their design regulations are very robust, much more robust than ours are. They want to make sure that whatever they have in their design code isn't in conflict with what's in our code. And so we're just going through surgically, it's specifically as it relates to Title 108-7, which is our supplemental and qualifying standards and regulations. We're just going through each of those saying, this is still applicable, this is not applicable. So things like our architectural styling, our landscaping, our layout, setbacks, configuration, stuff like that, would not be applicable to this project because they've already provided something that's by far above and beyond what our code already does. So,
Okay, well, I guess that's my question. I was concerned that we're trying to still negotiate design. So from what I understand, the design that we're seeing in the development agreement aligns very closely to what we've seen over the past number of months. Is that
yeah,
correct? Or?
Design is done. Yep, that hasn't changed since, I don't know, 6 months ago.
Well, I had some concerns there, but last question, Charlie. There's been some recent information in the press that Weber County does not require will serve letters for either water or sewer before we hand stamp a development. I need to have an answer to that because there has been some press on that, and members of the public in certain parts of this county are saying that we don't require that. Is that true or false, Charlie?
We require a will serve letter for any subdivision application. This is not a subdivision application. This is a master plan development.
Within the entire county?
Well, unincorporated area.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Unincorporated, yeah.
You
Just within the county boundary, I just want to be clear.
We won't even start subdivision review unless we have will serve letters for water and sewer.
Whether it's on the west side of the mountains or the east side of the mountains, just
Correct.
trying to understand.
Yep, correct. Yep, for any subdivision application.
Well, that was my question, so.
Okay,
yeah,
now I just-
Sometimes I just, don't know if what I read in print's true, so.
Sometimes it's not. One follow-up comment about the 400 acre, and I know that you said that you'd go back and possibly look at that again. And I'm not trying to say that if a 100 acre piece came in, we would try to recreate this project just on a smaller scale, because then you have even more kind of centers. But I think the intent would be, and I assume will be, to make these projects cohesive, so they kind of all mesh together once you drive out there and realize that it was all part of one,
Yep.
thousands of acres.
As you look at the
master plan.
transect graphic that I had up here on the screen, sorry, let me get back to it here just to give you a feel. I would assume most projects outside of these boundaries are probably not going to get up into the town center, maybe not even, so that's T6, maybe not even the T5 category. Most of the projects that are out there are still going to be single-family dwellings. But we can do them in a way that is consistent with the T1, T2, T3 cross-sections that you see here. So that's what I mean by consistency. So yes,
Yeah.
I think it would work really well.
So it doesn't look like you're jumping from one city to the next by crossing the street.
Right.
Okay, commissioners, those are my questions. If you have no others, I'm ready for a motion.
Well, I just, Charlie, what assurance can you give me? You're just, you talked a little bit about their development guidelines were more strict than ours. I want you to tell me, not in the record, but even in this whole thing, how can we know? I want to know. I mean, well, look, we're to this point because we trust you and the staff, and you guys do a phenomenal job.
Yeah, appreciate
You
that.
guys really, really do a great job.
I
But
appreciate that.
but it sounds to me like a little pushed here. I mean, do we just wait until somebody can sit down and go through that Minchner novel you've got there and go through everything, or what?
No, well, I mean, if you did want to sit down and do it, it's all adopted. In fact, you can find most of it in, what do we have here? It's in the exhibits to the development agreement. The county, unincorporated county, we haven't done a lot of commercial development. We haven't done a lot of higher density development, and so it makes a lot of sense that we don't have a ton of great standards that can help shape those communities. From an ethical perspective, I would have a hard time recommending approval of this if we didn't have something that I felt like we've got a sense of confidence in. If they aren't following the design standards, which are more robust than ours, if they aren't following it, the county has recourse to make sure that they adjust and fix that, including the county can remove the town architect. So the town architect is funded and paid for by the applicant, but we want to make sure we've got full control over the decision-making authority of the town architect. And if they're not following the rules, they can be removed. So I know it's not directly to your question, but the standards they're voluminous.
If you're able to go back to those maps, the colored maps on there, just really quick. Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to, just really quick, I'm almost done. This might be the last one.
All right, closed out. Here we go. Those ones?
Yeah, it works. The one I'm looking at on my right on the monitors, commissioners, if some of those other pieces of property are acquired by this developer or someone, can this zone be expanded?
Yes.
If
Yeah.
it is, okay, if it is expanded, do they have to, would they be required to meet the same guidelines as we're talking about today? So everything looks consistent?
They can't be expanded without your consent. So the answer to the question is, if you guys apply the same rules, the same consistency to those other properties, if the applicant comes in after acquiring them, then yes, you're not required to, but I would recommend you do.
Commissioners, one of the things for me is that however this looks out there, he said something, and having seen it, it's an urban environment versus another downtown Ogden. It's a different feel. These types of communities are a different feel than they are coming downtown here. And so, I buy into that. And so I just want to be careful that it doesn't turn, a little patchwork here. So with that, I think, Madam Chair, you said you're ready. I'm ready to make a motion that we approve the approval for 2025-20 on that rezone for this TZ-Bennett.
And I'll second that with a comment.
Please.
So this has been a long time coming, and I've supported this development because of what has been promised, put in under the development agreement by the developer. So we're putting a lot of faith into the developers to carry forward and provide what they have said they're going to. And I agree with Commissioner Harvey. I've actually seen kind of the blueprint of this in another state, and for me it makes good sense to provide a community center in that part of the county. At the same time, Charlie, I would want to make sure that development agreement is not wavered, that becomes part of the public record, because if this was not carried out with what was promised, I almost was ready to table this until we had a consensus, but I'm going to hold off on that and support the motion with that understanding. But I think we need to make it very clear to the developer that this is not a free pass. This is an opportunity to provide what they have promised Weber County. And personally, I expect that to happen. And I think that in the future, any development we look at, as we did last week, we expect the same due diligence from the developer, or we may not just pass it, because that's our duty as elected officials, to make sure that what we're approving is carried forward by the people developing that property. So I want to make sure that becomes part of the record.
Thank you. All right, I have a motion and a second.
Commissioner Harvey, just for clarification, did your motion include the approval of the development agreement? Okay. Roll call vote for ordinance 2025-20. Commissioner Ford?
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Chair Bolos?
Aye, motion carries. All right, item I on our agenda, Commissioners,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We're adjourned.